Rennie Curran is about to be here. Rennie was a former University of Georgia star, Sugar Bowl winner, and he's about to show us how he uses his athletic skills and his business acumen to be the best entrepreneur that he can be, and in doing so, he's going to inspire us to show us how we can be the best entrepreneurs we can be.
Well, Rennie, it's so great to have you here and to read your bio. I just couldn't wait to meet you, so this is an honor.
Definitely, likewise.
I wanted to ask you if you could just share your story of how you became an entrepreneur.
Yeah, man, it's a long story. Always is, right? For me, entrepreneurship has always been part of my life. You know, when I go out and speak and talk about just my journey from being an athlete to becoming an entrepreneur, it really started with the recruiting process. You know, understanding that in order to get looked at by Coach Mark Richt, I had to be a salesman. I had to make sure that my body looked the part, that I passed the eye test, that when he saw me, he could say, you know, this guy looks like he can run through a wall. So I learned about business and sales and things like that through my journey as an athlete. And when it actually came to me physically becoming an entrepreneur, it really started at a time of transition. So I had been drafted by the Tennessee Titans, and not too long after that, coaching staff got fired, Jeff Fisher, his staff are gone, new regime comes in, so a lot of things change. And for the span of like 8 months, like I'm back home and training, and what most people don't know about free agency is you have to train every single day and stay ready, even though you may or may not get a call.
Right.
So it was crazy, and in the midst of this, I just told myself, like, I can't wait on anybody to give me a call, like, or to give me an opportunity. So essentially, me becoming an entrepreneur was about me just saying, I'm gonna take, you know, life, take control of life.
What are some of the challenges that you faced early on in entrepreneurship?
Man, so one of the biggest challenges I faced early on was just knowing which direction to go in. For so many entrepreneurs, you talk to them when they're starting out and they're like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Yeah. You know, they got a million titles.
Yes.
And until you really lock down, you know, number one, who you are, your values, your passions, and number two, just kind of, and it's not something that you figure out overnight. You know, that's part of the journey too, is learning what lane to be in, what works, what doesn't work. So that was one of the biggest challenges, and it took a lot of this sitting down and having coffee and lunch meetings. It took a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of books, a lot of trial and error until I could really say, okay, this is it. And a lot of prayers. You know, a big part of I feel like entrepreneurship is faith.
What experiences can you draw upon that turns you into an entrepreneur?
Man, that's an awesome question, because as a linebacker, like, that's entrepreneurship. Every day you wake up, you're hunting for opportunity, you're hunting to make a play. You got to set the tempo. And so when I look at my career at Georgia and just all the things I had to overcome, being labeled undersized, my whole entire career, even after Georgia, even after the accolades, getting to the NFL, just the mental toughness, the grit, teamwork. One of the things as an entrepreneur is we try to, a lot of times, isolate ourselves. Like, we're just in this silo and we're trying to conquer the world. But I understand that to really grow and to expand as an entrepreneur, it's all about teamwork. It's all about being able to leverage, you know, not only your skills and talents, but the skills and talents of others.
I wanted to ask you about your daughter. So how did writing that book with your daughter come about? Did she say, hey, Daddy, let's write a book, or?
Yeah, so when it came to the book, that was something that was spiritual. Like, that hit me like 4 o'clock in the morning in like, I'd say January of 2017. And as I was in the process of putting the story together, my daughter, I would get her, you know, over the weekends, every other weekend, and she loves to draw and to write, and always leaves my place with marker stains and everything. So I just thought to myself as I was in the process, I was like, this is gonna be a children's book. I gotta have the perspective of a child. And so I was like, babe, come here. Would you like to be an author? And she was like, yeah, you know. I was like, you know what you're getting into? You know, she didn't know what she was getting into, but I was like, how would you like to be an author and to inspire other young kids and, you know, to do this with your daddy? And she was like, yeah. So I got her input on the characters and just really picked her brain when it came to putting the story together. So that's how it kind of came about. And as we've gone out now, it's definitely been something that's not only brought us closer together, but also has inspired a lot of young children.
Were there any mentors or anything you came across while you were playing professionally or at UGA that have affected this?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. As I said, I was labeled undersized, and one of the biggest mentors I had during my tenure in high school and UGA was a guy by the name of Jesse Tuggle. he actually coached me when I was 11 years old, and I didn't even know who he was. And that, I mean, it's crazy how God works, but I ended up meeting him at a training facility that I trained at with a guy by the name of Chip Smith. His son trained there, and so I ended up, when I was in high school, people would be like, man, you remind me of Jesse Tuggle, and I'd be like, who's Jesse Tuggle? And so I ran into him at Chip Smith's spot, and we reconnected, and I was like, dang, so you Jesse Tuggle, I remember you. And from then on, we just developed that bond.
And what is some advice that you can give to people who are following the same path as you?
Yeah, my number one advice would be to embrace the journey. Embrace the journey, because one of the things is it's not a straight path. It's one of those things you're not going to figure out right away. I don't care how many books you read, how many degrees you have, it's just not a set path. So you have to, number one, embrace uncertainty. You have to embrace the failures, and also not get caught up in the good times, because as much as failure and challenges might get people, success gets even more people. When things start going good, they lose themselves a lot of times. So I would say really embrace the journey.